Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. Hope you're doing well today. I have quite a few things to talk about today. I'm not sure what the title is going to be for this. Apophis, and what I'm going to say about Apophis is going to be pretty brief, and what I'm going to say I have not said yet before. So Apophis, its arrival is 2029, April 13th, and that's a Good Friday. Or not a Good Friday, that's Friday the 13th. So do you find that a little strange? We'll get to that in a second. What else was I going to talk about here? I was going to talk about this. Actually, I'll talk about this candle problem I went through. For anyone who's interested in candles, making them. But the evil of today, where we are right now in this world, I just want to mention one thing because I heard a story. I heard a story the other day that just made me like, man, like, did Jesus come? Maybe you heard this. There was a woman in Florida. She was in a Costco or a Walmart. I believe it was a Walmart. Go look for this story. She's alone, and she's going and she's looking for a table, I think. A woman comes up to her, and let's just put it this way. I'll get to that in a second. She's drugged, and they want to, this is about trafficking, about trying to get people and traffic them. I'm going to tell you about that, show you how evil it is. Things that are happening today that just wouldn't have been 10 years ago. And what I mean is, evil is outward, less controlled. This is why the love of many shall wax cold. When people see this, it's like an opening to them. I wanted to talk about Job and talk about how God does not speak to us now. So there's quite a few things. And let's start off with Apophis. I don't wear my glasses anyways. Man, I see so much clearer like this distance. I wear these virtually most of the day because I'm reading a lot, but in distance I don't, when I'm driving or whatever I don't. But just give me a second, I'm going to talk about Apophis. I have no idea, and well, actually I do have an idea why Apophis isn't the number one topic in the world. And here's the reality. Ever since 2020, ever since 2020 and all the deception and all, that was the beginning of something. Yes. Was it Seal 1? Absolutely could have been. There was a sense of they knew what was going on. The people claiming to know, the people who are being questioned, is this gain of function? He lied for all that time. It was gain of function, and he promoted gain of function. It was stupid, and they decepted us. That's exactly what they did. They deceived us for years, and it set a tempo of other deceptions that never stopped from then. So if someone's looking 100 years from now, which will not be, they'll look back and say it started then. So when something like Apophis, which should be the number one story, yes, it should be the number one story. Why? Because they're desensitizing us. When you start telling people like, hey, to my brother, look at this story, or I tell them about the coming of Christ and look at all these things that are happening, they already forget what it used to be. So just one story in our day now, just one major news story would take the cycle before 2020 for 6 months. If there were miners trapped in an underground cave, it would go for 6 months. If there was a plane crash, it would go for a few months at least. Remember that MH Malaysian plane, that mystery? Do you get what I'm saying? How many nuclear threats have there been? There's probably been at least in the hundreds, right? At least in the hundreds. Maybe even more. But it's just amazing because something like Apophis gets just pushed under the rug. I believe from my study of Scripture, from what I see around me, I absolutely believe that Apophis is the fulfillment of Trumpet Judgment 1. And, people say, you can't know the day or the hour. And what do I mean about that? Because Trumpet 1 is the midpoint. Maybe it's not the exact midpoint, and that's why you can't calculate. But it matches Wormwood perfectly. It's right on time, too. It's right on time. What do you mean, Dave? If you contrast and put beside one another, when Wormwood comes, when this Apophis 20 million metric tons, it weighs 20 to 30 times an aircraft carrier. So imagine 30 aircraft carriers coming into the atmosphere, hitting, boom, boom, boom. Come on, man. If you contrast that, oh man, I lost what I was going to say. For that, I just lost what I was going to say. It matches, yes, if you contrast that, thank you, Holy Spirit. If you contrast that with Jesus' coming, when he was here roughly exactly 2,000 years ago, to the time he appeared on the scene or died, from what I look at, it's either 3 or 4 BC that he was born. And you can calculate these things based on Daniel 9 and to Messiah the Prince, and then it gives you a calculation, right? And so with that, I think it's pretty obvious, because I don't think Christ will come I believe the age of grace is 2,000 years. Give or take whatever it is, God is exact. He's always has been. So when you look around what's going on in this world, we're like just one little spark away from World War III. That's what it appears as, and that is my perception. These drone incursions, it's being done purposely. Seeing all over the airports, all over the world, like drones, those are happening too, all over the world, not just in China too, in other countries. That's another thing, is there being an alien deception coming, 3i Atlas and all that. This is the kind of stuff I mean, and you understand. But Apophis, let's just get into Apophis. It matches what we know. We look around and see what's happening. Evil people of the earth have stuck their heads up that they want to enslave us. They'll put up their satellites. They'll, like Bill Gates' plan, 65,000 satellites. He said just that many, not anyone else's, will cover every inch of, I don't know what he said, but probably the world. This is what they want to do to us. And so I believe that's Apophis. Things are getting evil daily. You can measure it daily. So we have 30 aircraft carriers, the weight. So it's, as tall as the World Trade Center and wide, almost the same. There are different measurements that I've seen, but What matters is how much it weighs, too. 20 or 30 million metric tons. So, an aircraft carrier weighs 100,000 tons. They're huge behemoths. They're cities at sea that carry 6,000 men. Men and women. So is it, if this is the prophecy of wormwood, why are you saying to me, you don't know the day or the hour, but I see wormwood coming. I see something that looks, listen, go read Trumpet Judgment 1-4. John saw it in a great thing, a mountain, burning like a mountain thrown into the sea. That's not Trumpet 1, but that's another, and I believe 1-4 or 1-5 is all one. There may be others too coming. They're saying there's asteroid waves, but this one, they know. They know. And, you hear of these underground cities and $21 trillion. Listen, I can't speak to that, but I heard that. Money missing and why you're in such debt in the United States. These were some reputable people who were talking about this, about underground cities being built, and it makes sense, doesn't it? So let's just talk about Apophis. This thing is coming, and they're telling us that it's only 20,000 miles, that it's going to miss us by. Why is that not the top news? Why are we not hearing that everywhere? We're hearing through Atlas, but not this. This is the most concerning thing that's happened in our history. And what you would call an existential threat. A bigger threat than anything else. So if it hits, it's a partial planet killer. If it hits the ocean, which it matches Revelation, it's going to hit the ocean. And I think some of their calculations of people who believe it's going to hit, scientists, say the Pacific. So Tom Horn spoke to someone at NASA who disagrees with what they said. And he has a whole network of people. So these were experts in the field who said it's going to hit the west. So it's going to hit the West Pacific Ocean of the United States on that side. I concur because it's going to hit the ocean. Go read Revelation, the Trumpet Judgments. So I said something I never said before. So you can do the counting, to see where the tribulation is. And we did this count. I did it with one of my viewers here. Well, actually, you showed me exactly the date. October 13th would be the start of the Great Tribulation. If that's wormwood. I don't care if you say, you can't know the day or the hour. Maybe it won't be that exact, but you count backwards. If you know when wormwood is hitting, you can count backwards and forwards. That's all I'm saying. So if it is, in fact, wormwood, you would count back 3.5 years to get October 13th of this year. That would make sense to me based on everything I'm seeing right now. If I were to predict, I believe World War III would start within 1 month. That's what I see. That's what I see. So all countries know that this thing is coming. However you like it or not, this massive rock is coming. And it's going to come underneath the satellites. So satellites, a lot of the satellites are like 30 to 36,000 miles away from the Earth. Okay? So they're going to come underneath it. It's probably going to destroy a whole bunch of stuff. But in the very least, it's going to affect the gravitation. We don't know what's going to happen. It could alter its trajectory and turn it, they say, turn it out in a different way that when it comes back, I think it's 2036 or something, that it could hit us. But they're trying to tell us that it's going to only come within 20,000 miles. This thing has been traveling for all of millions of years, as they say, just to miss us by 20,000 miles? Do you really buy that? The girth of the Earth, man. The girth of our Earth is right? To go around it, and I still haven't looked, but I think it's about 12,000 miles, something like that. So if you unroll that, it's about the same distance, pretty much, in terms of something like this. That's how close it's going to come. And now you have to ask yourself, are they telling you the truth, that it's not going to hit us? And you have to ask, why would they keep the truth from us? Because there would be looting, there would be violence, there would be people who would try to be taking everything. They would assault people, there would be a lot of sexual assaults. There would be burning buildings, there would be stolen cars, there would be stolen jets. There would be a lot of stuff. So why would they tell us? And what haven't I said yet? I believe that, of course, they're really worried about this. I believe probably a lot of different countries on the earth are working together to try to this is not what you're not hearing, to try to take this thing out or alter its trajectory. Why wouldn't they? This is the biggest existential threat that's ever happened to us, and not a single soul is talking about this. And when I told someone the other day, they said, oh, well, we still have another 3.5 years or whatever it is, okay. Just going to wait for that just to hit. Okay, I'm going to get off this topic. Just let me pace. And I believe where it says in big spasm in my esophagus. In trumpet 1, it says, the angel before that in seal 7 says, he took fire in the censer and he threw it down in the earth. And then John's description is trumpet 1, and I saw hail mixed with fire, coming down from the sky. I just believe that hail mixed with fire and blood is exactly what Tom Horn said, and it makes just scientific sense that must have a lot of other rocks around it, and it will be breaking up too. If that, in case when it hits our atmosphere, anyways, if it's coming directly at us and not, things are going to break up because of the atmosphere. They're going to burn. They're going to break up. And so when you look up and you see that breaking up, it's going to look like exactly what trumpet 1 says. Hail. There's going to be so many little pieces coming, and it's going to look like fire coming down from heaven. Excuse me. Sorry guys, if you haven't seen me before, I have a lot of pain, trouble in my throat and my abdomen, so yeah, you know what I wanted to say, so I'm done with that. I make giant pillars, smooth pillars of pure beeswax, the nicest stuff. And I have an 18-inch one, like no one around here makes those. So I do, right? Just in case someone wants to buy one. And I burnt this, and man, this lasted me for 3 years. And I burnt it enough times, I don't know, it was maybe 200 hours or something. But so I got to this point, and I'm like, what is this? It just burnt through, and then landed on the bottom. It was hollow. What happened? I was trying to figure out what happened. I just remember I have more than one, I have more than one mold for large pillars, but it was like when I was making it, you had to drill your own hole in the bottom, and it was a little too big, and I was having to cover it up because it's hot. It's really hot wax, eh? And when you poured in the mold, it was, and it wasn't a silicone mold, it was metal. It would sometimes leak out of it because I figured out what to do afterwards. You just put wax, like a certain type of wax over it so it doesn't come through. But man, it's so hot that it makes its way through when you put stuff over it. And it had been leaking, and I would just cover it and then just keep pouring more in. So what happened was, I guess the bottom settled in a way that it made it hollow while I was still trying to pour on top. And anyways, that's what I believe happened with this. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's pushed down like that. I've never seen that in a lot of candles. I don't really want to get a lot into this, but this is the evil that is today. The story that I was talking about in the beginning, there was a woman who, and yes, these things have been going on for a long time. And what was that movie that Jim Caviezel was in? The Sound of Freedom. This is what I'm talking about. It's become so brazen. There was this woman just, she was shopping at a Walmart in Florida, and she was by herself, and they target people who are by themselves. And she was pretty. I don't know how old she was. She's probably 40 years old. But yeah, she was going to buy a table, and there was a woman that came up to her, and I don't know if they said with a different type of accent, saying they were some type of missionary type thing, and took a book from their bag and said, like, here's like a Bible tract type thing. And this woman said, like, I just felt like I had to take it. She grabbed it and she said, no thanks, gave it back. And then the woman went away, and I don't know, let's just say within 5 minutes or so, as she's in the store, she's starting to get like really tired and dizzy and stuff like that. It gets to the point where it's really uncomfortable. What do you do, right? You're really sick, you're in a store, you're gonna have to go home, right? She's like wondering what's going on, but she's keeping her composure, and she makes her way to the cash, and I guess, I don't know if her intention was to go out, but she felt she had to be around people, and that was the smartest thing to do. But before anything happened to her, she looked, and she saw there was that woman, and she was nervously texting on her phone, and she felt like that was a big warning sign, and I guess she asked for help for the people who were around there. So you know what they do. This is the evil. This is how evil things have gotten today. So if you've seen The Sound of Freedom, that book had something that if you touch it, it would go transdermally, like fentanyl. It could be fentanyl. All you have to do is just touch a little bit of it. I don't know exactly what it was, but what they count on is you to walk out of that store. You're all tired and everything, and you try to go to your car, bam, they come and they go by, they grab you, put their arms around you like in a bear hug, put you in a cart, and that's it. So what do they do with you? This is the evil today. That I believe, because I've seen enough of these things in the past, that these things are not happening in Mexico only or in South America. This is a big business, and people have like encrypted groups of people who speak to each other, like peas. I'll just say peas, you know what I mean? And women and even men. It's gotten so bad that they're trying to traffic you, because as it said in The Sound of Freedom, you are worth a lot more than any drug could ever be, because they can use you 10 times a day. Is that not evil? But even more evil, how evil we've become, is that people are willing to do it and put the people who they take into their own basement of their home. It's like, that's how they're making their money. Just put someone in your basement, you know? What do the cartels do? They stick you with needles and get you addicted to drugs, so you'll never leave. Some do, some make it away. But, sorry guys, sorry to be so descriptive. I wasn't really descriptive, actually. This is happening. This is a real story. These are the things that are happening. So, this is why Jesus Christ is coming, because of such evil. I caught myself, just because of the suggested videos on my YouTube, there'd be like crime stuff. And I never asked for it in the first place. It's just there. And I go look, and like the things I would see people finding in who you think might be a good neighbor. People stuffed in closets, and man, I'm not even kidding you. Like, wow. Anyways. So these people connect with each other, and the only people that can really battle them are the what do they call them? Ethical hackers. Ethical hackers who can break into these groups. You know, they would PED, right? They're finding PEDs. And they're finding, you know, they'll go into a group and pretend to be a 13-year-old boy, and they'll just wait for someone to come and speak, and man, a whole bunch of men and women will come and speak to them. I'm not kidding you. And so one of the reasons why it's so seemingly permitted now is because of one, technology, but two, because evil has gone unchecked, because the Church of Satan is probably getting more followers than Christians. That's what they're saying the upward trend is. Anyways, I don't want to scare people and don't go out, but that should, in the United States, that should warn you to be very vigilant when you go out. Go out with someone and carry a big knife. No, I'm just kidding. Don't carry. I don't know. You do what you want, but people in the States tend to carry a lot of weapons, but okay. There's a Christian YouTuber who, man, I've made a video about this, just one video about this person. I don't want to speak. This person just wasn't treating. He's become very popular, and I would see some of the videos. The way he was treating people was awful, man. Like swearing at them, and in any case, it just was not Christ-like. But he makes very good videos. You may know who I'm talking about. He explains things like in a way that I haven't seen really anyone else being able to go in depth into a story and pick out the things that that other people don't recognize what it means. And so last night I saw this one, and he did it about Job. And this one almost, I mean, like the way he explained it almost made me cry. I'm not even kidding you. And it made me think, and this is why God, God doesn't speak to us anymore. I want you to realize this. I'm going to get back to Job, but God doesn't speak to us anymore because of the Israelites, because they were afraid and they didn't. They wanted a mediator in Moses, and and that's where Joshua in the book of Judges around that time. God spoke to them directly, and then he spoke through like Samuel, right? And others like Barak first, but and I'm making a segue into what I'm going to discuss, but just think about this. However old the angels are, the things we have no idea about, we know a certain something by the book of Job that there is an audience listening between Satan and God, right? And through that story of Job, it was God who was defending Job. You know, he first said, you know, like, there's no one on earth like Job, and you know everything he says about Job. You know, he's an upright man, and then Satan comes in and he tries to attack Job. He says, you know, if you don't give him this and this and this, he will not worship you still. He won't love you. And so God already knew, listen, that's a horrible story of what happened to Job and everything. But God was sticking up for Job. That's what people miss. They listen to the things that happened to Job, but God was defending Job's honor the whole time, because he knew Job, and Satan was trying to divide and conquer and cause doubt and everything like that. Whatever this is of the angels, so we know there was an audience with Job, right? We know there's a big audience. And we know that 1/3 of the angels already side with Satan, and 2/3 with the good, God. So, whatever dispute has been happening, and the things that our minds cannot even conceive, except for the people who have actually visited the throne room, like Isaiah, like Paul, like Ezekiel, all of those, whatever they were, there was some type of, there's a lot of accusations going on. Has Satan come down to the earth? Probably not. It's possible. But if he hasn't, for sure, all those accusations, because we know in Revelation it says, you know, finally, you know, all the accusations day and night have gone. And what are those, you know, on the earth for Satan has a short time? It's possible that Satan is down here, but I don't know, man. I'm more apt to believe that we're going to see like these mega wars, and we're very close. That's all I'll say. If not, we're very close. But those disputes that are happening there with those angels is going to come to a close. Have they been around for billions of years? Or have they been around for just before us? We don't know. But they're ancient. So those bad ones, we know with the things we see happening in this world, and my first topic, wormwood, that they're about to end. That era, these ancient beings are about to end. Not the good ones. Everything we do, like me right now, and I've said this before, me in this video, speaking about the truth, there is probably an audience in heaven right now about this, and I want you to recognize that. And the time of God not speaking to man is going to end with it. We're going to be with Jesus. And I believe wherever we are on the earth in the millennial kingdom, because it says there's nations, We're going to have glorified bodies, and we're going to be able to call on God, and He'll be right there. I believe we'll be able to transport anywhere on the earth with a thought. Because if we're going to be like Jesus, you'd think that would be the case. And if not, that's okay too. We'll have glorified bodies. We won't be hurting. So we're going to be speaking right to God. I think the antithesis of what I'm saying is it's going to return back to the way it was in Eden. And then, man, I have no idea what's coming after the 1,000 years of rest. Now, that's a big question. I'm just waiting for those 1,000 years. I always wonder how many people are going to be in the millennial kingdom. What is this? What it's going to be? I can't wait. And whatever fears that we face, I lived a fear-based life because of the pains that I was suffering with, but also because of reasons like trauma. And by holding my faith went up a lot. And by trusting God, He did so much in my life I don't even know how to say. All you have to do is look at the things that I'm in, the things that I've done with the Holy Spirit, with God. I'm not going to outline what those are, but you already know how many pain disorders I have. And without this faith, I'd be nowhere. I'd be absolutely nowhere. It's just amazing what faith does. And your faith may increase daily. The more you have faith, the less you have fear. So if something happens to me right now, what has changed is that I'll maybe panic for a second, just like, depending on how bad it is, but then it'll stop, and I'll say to myself, okay, I'll have to work on it this way or that way. I don't wake up in fear of something happening to me like that. There's been a lot of bad things happen to me physically in my life, and those are things very hard to take, but man, God made me want to live. Not just live, but live well. And it's faith in God. It's the Holy Spirit running through us, through every fiber of our being. And if you add to the mix tarot cards, I'm just kidding. Don't use tarot cards. Don't use Ouija boards. Don't use those things. Those things, man, those things are witchcraft. I think I'll just end on that note. Bless the Lord.